So I'm going to cover a few events. First off, we're going to talk about Tax Games October Online Regional. Then we'll discuss and look at the top 8 from BCF Manila. I think this was the Japanese event. It looks Japanese event. So we'll go over that. And from there, we'll talk about a little bit of other things. So guys, without further ado, let's get into the video. So first off, we have the TAC Games October Online Regionals. So top 16 of this online 7-rounder for 128 players is huge. But Levia X, Magnamon X, Fenry Luga, Dexteruga, 7 Great Demon Lords, Mirage, Dexteruga, Ancient Guru, Omnimon Ace, Leviamon X, Ancient Guru, 7 Great Demon Lords, Leviamon X, Dexteruga, Imperial Digimon, and Shine Greymon. All very commonplace. It looks like BT-19 is really turning up to being with EX-06 to being very healthy meta, to be straight honest with you. So you kind of get the breakdown here. No new decks this time. We didn't get black base blockers. I don't know if EX-07 was actually allowed in the event. That might have been, could have been some delays on their end because TAC is the international one, or it just did not get to that point. So we'll double check on the 7 Great Demon Lords to see if they actually have the Shoto. So this is like my first time looking through these lists. Personally, I do these blind with you guys, so I get a reaction onto seeing what's new and anything like that. I don't like spoiling myself like that because to me, knowing what the lists will entail is when I get to see them. So I really like the Pat Attack actually. This is pretty cute. We've seen this in the past, especially if you're going yellow. Patamon being able to grab any or Geo Greymon champions from your security can be a huge tempo swing. And it kind of gives you a free knowledge, especially if you do have this Geo Grey in hand and the Pata whiffs anyway, that you see maybe a Marcus or two in there. You can pull out the Marcus with the Geo Grey and set yourself up quite nicely, and it wouldn't be too bad of a pushback. So this is a very interesting take because Pata was actually a very common practice back when when Pata came out in BT-14. So especially because it would combo with this Tamer Polar Geo Grey, and that was how they kind of went with it. And it's not a bad tech, to be straight honest with you, to bring it back a little bit. Taking a look though, they did kind of do a very interesting lineup here. This was similar to my friend Dwayne's list in the sense that the ratios were quite interesting. This Shine Greymon at 3, this one at 2 is kind of flopped in his list. He played this in reverse, but he also had, you know, burst modes and everything like this, a very big trifecta. So taking a look at this, it's a really solid list at the end of the day, and I think it really did well for what it did. Imperial Digimon, we know this thing's a crazily good deck. This deck focuses on super consistency. And I mean if they don't see the Lydramon and you have the XVmon and Stingmon is their only way of combo shenanigans, you can easily make your turn come back. And that's important because you just need them to lose out on gaining that memory gain and only have to rely on the Davis and Ken. But all in all, very stock list. Then we have a purple base Dexteruga. Been a little bit since we've seen this deck get to the top. And actually, surprisingly, this is actually what I ran, I think. Minus the Lugamon down. Taking this into account, this is very similar to my list. That's kind of cool. So, yeah, when my list came out, this was what I tried to run and got the place I did. And the Mega Gargo Ace, of course, and the Helluga were tucked in, especially into certain matchups. And then you have Analog Youth taking up one of your Lugas, which I get it. And then, you know, the Ukus, he just did not care about the consequences. And I like the idea behind this. This is pretty solid of a list, and it's a good knowledge base to see where, you know, ratios you made calls in actually do well in other events. So I'm kind of happy that Mega Gargo Ace and Hellugamon both kind of popped in to this man's list, and he got 15th place with it. So really solid. Then we have Leviamon. Leviamon being a Levia, so nothing out of the ordinary here that you don't see in a Leviah list as usual. As you know, Leviah is just going to try to control the board and pop. And again, once Magna got out of the format and Numemon, this deck breathes so much better into the format, and it really shows how powerful this deck can be. Then you do have, yep, this is playing Shoto, so that means the deck is live for EX-07 events. So that means 7 Great Demon Lords are still presenting themselves. I like that they are playing the 4 Cup Mons, so that means they respect Psych Mons and stuff like that a little bit more consistently. So keeping that in mind, good to know. Then we do have the red base Ancient Garuru. Ancient Garurumon's just doing Ancient Garurumon shenanigans. What else can you expect from this deck? And then this list here. This list I want to test now. So this list is focusing on the Leviah X antibody with Lilithmon X antibody to kind of combo off and make some decent headway here. So Lilithmon costs all turns once per turn when this Digimon would leave the battle area other than in battle. Lilithmon are X antibody against Digi-evolutions. By deleting one other Digimon, it doesn't leave. In all turns when another Digimon are deleted, if it's your turn, you may play 1 level 4 or lower card from trash without paying its cost. If it's your opponent's, trash to security. So you combo in with your Leviahs and you kind of just control the board. It's a really interesting list and I like where they're going with it. I think this is a very spicy list, having Lilithmon and Leviah combine in a way that players weren't probably expecting. So this might actually start showing up a little bit more in online regionals just because of how spicy this is, and people are going to now play test. And with a Ultimate Cup coming this weekend and the following weekend is another online regional, I expect some results. Then we have the king of most top 16s, I'm going to say, that top 16s most consistently, Omnimon. Omnimon, very stock list, actually, nothing out of the order here. I'm surprised they're only on 1 Metal Guru because you definitely want to have more Metal Gurumon targets because you can search your Greymons. You can't search the Metal Gurus, so being at 5 is kind of off-putting to me. I would expect this to be a little bit higher, but out of respect, it's doing what the deck wants to do, right? And I think that's vitally important. And then we have another yellow hybrid, well, blue yellow hybrid Ancient Garuru with the splash of red as its kind of egg line. Not surprised here. The deck is really solid. There's nothing out of the ordinary. I love that everybody's still on Digimon Emperor and people were so against having that in the deck anymore, and now it's just been, I'm here, I'm staying, I'm format dependent. I really stand for the format. And then we do have black based Dexteruga. So this is very similar to Ben's list. If you take a look, out of the ordinary, nothing too screams here. I think they made a small adjustment to bring AG up to 2, so they have it consistently better to get the alliance, which good for you. And then you do have the Warp Dorumon that basically helps out just to get right into your big boss, especially if you can get 3+1. Being able to get in from a promoted up Dorumon to Doru Gray might mean an earlier pushback turn that your opponent wasn't really ready for, and that is vitally strong. And then you do have Mirage with Hexablow. Of course, this deck's going to do well. This deck always does well, so nothing out of the ordinary here besides the Hexablow. And then taking a look at it, another 7 Great Demon Lords is very similar to the first place list that won a couple weeks ago. But I like that they are playing the Akihiro. So taking that into account, pretty solid. Then we have another black base Dexteruga. So definitely think this was more closer to akin to Ben's list, minus the rookie lineup. So taking a look though, I like that they teched into UGs. It's a smart play, especially because if you don't have your SOC tamers, you're not playing the game. A very similar strat that I think is a very smart play. Then you do have Fenry Luga. Fenry Luga is just Fenry Luga. If this deck goes off, this deck goes off. It sees the world, you're screwed. Then we do have Blue Magna. Two Flame Dramon's a very interesting tech in. I figure usually players would try to be at 4, but 2 is actually pretty solid enough. So that means you don't have to break the piggy bank to really play this deck beside if you have Magna X antibodies. Then you do have Leviamon doing well again. No surprise here. Levi is just going to do well in general. What hammered home Levia's weaknesses was the 2 decks that were tier 1. Levia just could not handle both, and now since they're gone, Levia actually feeds quite well into this format. So taking a look at this, really solid. And then we do have top 8 Digimon BCF Manila. I think this is the one we want to talk about. I think this was on the official Twitter. So yeah, so first place was DNA, Imperial Dramon with the Hexablow, 2 of tech, which no surprise here. Actually, let me rephrase this. For this major event, they went Imperial Dramon OTK with Big Turtle Boy plus Hexablow. Wow. I'm actually impressed. This is a very solid spice, actually. Instead of removing the Imperial Dramon focus and only worrying about the progenitor for making your, Paladin mode ace come through to protect your other guys, not a bad call. And I think this is a really spicy list. Shuffles, of course, just to get your VMons back. With only 4 Wormmon, that is quite interesting. So they either... Oh yeah, because you can just digivolve on both. What am I thinking? It doesn't matter which one you have. So as long as you can do that, pretty solid. And then the Bloom Lord, really interesting take here. I'm really happy Bloom Lord did quite well. I mean, for a lot of players, they really underestimate Bloom Lord, and this being able to play the way it does is quite amazing, especially with Quantumon being your backup and then having Paladin mode ace as well. I think this is a really smart tech. I think this helps answer a lot of threats that you had, especially with Quartzmon and Paladin mode ace. This is a beautiful deck. I think this is pretty solid. Then you do have the powerful Fenry, Luga, Takamazuchi, and I think this one, Grand Prix 20 Tokyo B area winning deck list. So this was Tokyo B's winning deck list, and that was Takamazuchi. I mean, if you see the world, you see the world. This deck really is about, if you mill the correct cards and get it in, most decks cannot handle you bringing it down to 4 or bring them down to 1 to 0 in your 1 turn. Boom, you're just gonna give them a bad time. And then the Tokyo B runner up is, blue base Imperial Magnamon. So I mean, yeah, this is pretty good to see actually in the long term. And then let's translate this post. This is Tokyo area A's. This is purple good stuff Lord Nightmon main, which is good to see. I was mentioning this earlier that Lord Nightmon started to do this, that when it releases, if we get this line here, which is a possibility, I think we're going to get this. So if we get this, we have this and these two, we can build this deck literally in our format when this format comes out. So if we get the Lord Nightmon package, we're going to be really good for this. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. But a purple base Lord Nightmon taking up, their Tokyo A Grand Prix, really good to get this information, and it's great data. And then you do have the mill deck. So kind of interesting to see that both sides of the coin, that purple is just very much improving. And I like the AG tech because, again, what's really nice about purple is that if you can get the AG out while your guys are just sitting there, they don't need the hybrid there. They'll just let AG do his thing and you'll gain memory, and then you can just keep doing the hybrid shenanigans, and then basically keep spinning this out at the end of your turn, and you'll always have hybrid. And it's really tough for opponents to deal with sometimes. I really like that you can get these two alternate art, and it might be something I chase off. I don't know yet. I think it might be Lord Nightmon might be my priorities, but there's so many good ultis coming through. I'm really excited. How about you guys? But guys, what do you think? I was glad that I was able to cover JP's events too in this one video. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.